Hello and welcome back to Board Crazy. My name is Dee, and today I will be reviewing Meeple Land with
your favorite colleague and friend, Will. I think I can speak for you. Yeah.
All right, before we get talking about Meeple Land, we're going to run my introduction to the game from our gameplay video, which is on the channel here as well. If you haven't watched that yet, to give you a little understanding of how the game works. Here that goes. Meeple Land is a game for 2 to 4 players, designed by Cyrille, Allard, and Frédéric, Guérard, and published by Blue Orange. In this game, players try to construct the most prestigious amusement park by filling it with rides and services that satisfy the desires of their Meeple guests. To set up, every player receives a plot board where their parks will be assembled, a park entrance, and a scoreboard. In the center of the play area goes the parking lot, onto which anywhere from 3 to 5 Meeple-filled buses are placed. Next to that should be the attraction and service tiles, separated by size into 3 face-down stacks, with a number of tiles from each stack then being drawn and arranged in face-up rows. All of the pieces, like money and the extra meeples, are kept to the side within reach. The game is played over 4 rounds, consisting of several turns in clockwise order. At the start of the first 3 rounds, each player will receive a grant, shown above the round tracker. Otherwise, the parks themselves are the only source of income. On a player's turn, they must perform one of 3 actions, the main action being purchasing one of the face-up tiles for its listed price and adding it to one's park. The tile can be oriented however the player likes, but if it is an attraction or service, the tile must fit on the player's plot and it must connect to at least one established path in the park. However, if a player runs out of room or creates a dead end, they may instead purchase a plot extension or an additional entrance. Instead of buying a tile, a player may instead advertise their park. To do this, they pay the cost shown on the back of the top small tile and collect the meeples shown. These meeples may then be placed either at an entrance or somewhere inside the park if possible. Also, the advertisement that is used then gets placed at the bottom of that pile. When a player is finished for the round, they pass their turn and collect one of the meeple-filled buses from the parking lot, placing the meeples at one of their entrances and removing the bus from the game. The round ends once all players have passed and taken a bus, and at that point they may then place the meeples they've collected at attractions around their park, as allowed by the attractions themselves. Most of the time, only a certain color of meeple is required to fill a space. However, some attractions have spaces that can only be occupied by a meeple if a specific type of service is directly adjacent via a path. Regardless, once all meeples have been placed, players earn money for each meeple in their park. The player with the least money becomes the new first player, and all buses that had been taken are replaced with new ones. After 4 rounds are finished, players tally up their scores. Players can earn points from having a wide variety of attractions in their park, as well as for each meeple that they have in their park. However, points are lost for meeples that are left at park entrances, as well as for any paths in the park that are cut off by other tiles. And naturally, the player who then has the most points is the winner. Now, let's get started. All right, so we're back.
Yes, we are back.
To talk about Meeple Land.
Meeple Land. Country of Meeple Land.
Yes, Meeple Land, a board game about amusement parks. You know, we always start with the gameplay. We usually like to start with something positive. We shouldn't be too hard with this game. I think it does a lot right. I would say if I have a main compliment is that I think the main thing it offers, it does pretty well.
Yes.
Which is to say the assembling and organizing of your theme park is pretty fun. And the sort of puzzle solving that goes into it.
It reminds me, I'm going to put this over here so it's not blocking me.
What's it remind you of?
Yeah, well, it reminds me a lot of like a roller coaster tycoon or like, you know, like a early kind of amusement park building like PC game.
Yeah.
You know, because in essence...
Same theme. I think the tiles are pretty clever. There's a good variety, which I appreciate as far as like the different rides and stuff you can use. But the way that the paths are sort of oriented on the tiles and the way you had to sort of think about them in relation to the plot of land you're dealing with, I think that, it's not hard.
No.
But you do need to think about it, and you do kind of have to plan ahead, kind of see, what kind of room you have to maneuver and what kind of tiles can help you in that regard. And then, consider the money that has to go into investing them and hoping your opponent doesn't go after them. And, you have to keep, have first and second options most of the time.
Blue-Orange games, I feel like one of their wheelhouses is tile-laying games.
Yeah.
And we've played many of them, and I would say that this one, of all of them that we've ever played, made me think the most. The fact that you have to you should be aiming for one continuous path, and
not two entrances right next to each other.
Well, some people play a little out there, but you could do that. Yeah. But I'm saying the idea that they want you to connect paths, and that you're right, the paths on each individual tile, and there's different tile sizes, and the paths don't go the same way. They're not just through. Sometimes they loop around, and
but you also have to consider the colors of the meeples that the different rides support. The attractions, obviously, or the services to those attractions as well.
Yeah.
As well as which meeples are available on the buses. Because that's obviously that's open information. So that's going to drive your strategy a little bit, especially towards the end of the game, where you don't want to have people stuck because that's going to lose you points. So you really need to fit as many in as possible.
I think I really liked the balance of trying to be I don't want to get this ride because that'll give me a double of this one type of attraction. I'm trying to get different kinds because you score that way at the end of the game. But I might need to take a second Ferris wheel because it has 3 green meeples on it, and I'm gonna probably have to draw a bunch of green meeples based on what's on the bus track.
Yeah.
It's
Well, yeah, it's another thing. When it comes to the buses, there is that sort of the way the option of maybe taking another turn or finishing early and definitely getting the bus you want, and perhaps even swiping the bus that one of your opponents wants.
Yeah, these are surprisingly heavy and difficult choices. Given that this is a game from Blue-Orange, they kind of have.
This is not a heavy and difficult game.
No.
I wouldn't say, but you do have to definitely. Strategize.
And that's no dig or slight towards Blue-Orange. It's just that we've played a lot of their games on our channel, and I guess I had some expectations. And I think some other people who are familiar with board games would come into this and be they expect this to be just a breezy, easy game. And while it is intuitive and easy to learn, it really makes you think, and you have really challenging choices. And these choices aren't just strictly, where do I put my tiles? The puzzle part of it is a big part of it. But then they add in all these little, extra things. And it's just, I was really satisfied with how many tough choices I had to make. But it's not so many tough choices that you're going to walk away feeling man, that's a little bit too much effort,
Yeah. So, if I had to maybe list a drawback now
of the gameplay,
I would say that it is. I'm not thrilled with the sort of luck involved when it comes to the tiles themselves. While there is a good variety, there maybe is. You could argue there's almost too much variety in some circumstances where you might go several, maybe rounds almost, without seeing much of a certain color of meeple come out that you need, or just a certain kind of attraction or service or what have you. It's not huge, but it's definitely something I noticed when we played. Constantly waiting, because there's so many tiles and they all get shuffled up. So
I felt the same way. It's very much possible for a character to be sitting and being I need a food stand, I need a food stand, I need a food stand. And then when finally someone comes out, somebody else takes it. Yeah. Or, it's almost a thing where it's I understand that criticism. Because it's a drafting game and you only have so many, you can't obviously look through the whole stack.
Yeah.
You're only going to have so many to choose from, so luck is involved. You're just waiting for that one you need to flip. At the same time, though, I do feel like the game does a good job of sort of telling you what to do. There's enough out there that the game is almost encouraging you not just to go based on a strategy you have in your head. And by that I mean
that.
you see a tile and it has pink on it, and you're like, well, I'm gonna get that even though there's no pink meeples out, and then I'm gonna hope for pink meeples. Well, it's not like the game is forcing you to take that. You're choosing to make that your strategy, and then it just luck doesn't fall your way.
Sure, but I mean,
whereas like this game gives you so many. Like in our game, I noticed there were so many opportunities where it's like, well, there's a lot of green and blue, and here are some green and blue like tiles. I could take those. And like you were waiting for food for the longest time. Well, you could have been taking attractions that require, a gift stand instead of a food stand, or a bathroom instead.
I guess it's kind of a give and take. Because there are so many variables you might have to consider. I personally think it can get irritating because you might even get, finally you get the service you need and you can buy it, but the path on that service is terrible for you. Like it makes a dead end or something. There's just so many different ways that things can go, not your way, which I think can be a little irritating.
And this game can, I would say, put people way behind the 8 ball because of that. You could have just one round where nothing goes your way and there's no coming back because there's only 4 rounds. And I think, and that's another thing, I'm like, the game has to be a limited amount of rounds because you only have so much space to play on.
Yeah.
Because it's so few rounds, one bad round is you're done, pretty much. It's almost impossible to recover.
Like that. Especially because,
especially one-on-one. Maybe with more people, there's more of an even spread of bad luck.
Yeah.
But if you're playing mostly with 2, it can be
maybe.
crippling.
But also, I mean, like, as the game progresses, the money you make is more and more determined by the success of the park. So
exactly.
if you do fall behind, not only are you behind in that way, but you're also not getting as much money to spend in order to catch up. So as far as when we talk about how the game plays, we talk about the end of the game, I think the scoring system's pretty good. It's not overly complicated, but I think it makes sense for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, you get points for the variety of attractions you have. You get points for the meeples and their rarity. Like there are some meeples that are worth 2 points per, some that are worth 1. Then you also lose points for
for meeples,
the meeples that you haven't placed,
that you haven't serviced.
You haven't given them.
And you also lose points for dead ends.
Yes,
which run into other tiles, which I think
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the only thing I don't like about the scoring is that while you're playing in the moment, you're usually thinking about things like how can I make the most money?
Yeah.
And you're not always thinking about like ride variety. A lot of games, they find a way to like have the main strategy of the main chunk of the game play into the final scoring, whereas this I felt like there's like a disconnect between like what my strategy was and always has been when we've played this in-game and like what you score.
Yeah, the money obviously doesn't come into it at the end.
No,
it's just
and that's
a
my
means
thing.
to the end.
Yes,
but
exactly.
I don't mind it too much. I mean, I like that you have the score sheet with you the entire game, so you can visibly see at all times
how you're doing,
how much progress you've made as far as ride variety goes, at least. And then as far as like the meeples in the park, that's you can pretty much eyeball that to see how well you're doing.
Yeah, I agree. It's a good scoring system. I just it's a little weird that what you're doing in game isn't always focused on the scoring at the end. You're trying to earn money and stuff, and that doesn't really play in at the end of the game. Yeah. Well, it doesn't, because you need it to buy tiles. So obviously it plays a part, but
it's not about money, Will.
No.
It's about prestige.
Components.
We can talk about components.
Why don't we talk about components for a second? There's one main thing I want to mention before we start. This is a good rule book. Really like... No. Let me get to my butt. Let me get to my butt.
I'll allow you to get to your butt, Will.
Like there's a ton of pictures.
Yes, it is.
And diagrams and stuff to like let you know. I like this.
It's very clear in that respect. Like what they're showing you, it makes sense.
However, there were a couple times where we noticed that things were like omitted, where I wish they would have clarified.
I don't know about omitted, but perhaps forgotten.
Forgotten, yeah, because I almost felt like they
or just not or missed entirely.
Yeah, because like there's so many diagrams, I feel like there was plenty of room to add in like these little caveats. I don't know if people just didn't pick up on it during playtesting.
Yeah, the odd rule here and there that may not be entirely clear, but as long as if you're playing by the same rules, it shouldn't be the end of the world. The other components I would say look quite nice, I think. I think all the rides look really great. They got a lot of character, sort of, recognizable, but, have a sort of a cartoonish flair all their own. The meeples are, they're nice. They're tiny. They're wood.
Yep. Decent components, good artwork.
Yeah, that's fair, I would say. I will say I have a gripe
What's your gripe?
Regarding components, and this is personal. It's not going to be a thing for everyone, but it's a thing for me, and it probably will be a thing for other people. I'm taking this. I think this game suffers from something that I'm going to call small world syndrome, where I don't know that the amount of components included is justified by what the game actually offers you. Which is to say, there's like, I added up, there's over 300 components included in this game. That's obviously including all the meeples and stuff, but like there's tiles, there's all these tiles, like they're hidden down here.
Yeah.
It's a lot of setup, a lot of cleanup, a lot of just table space taken up to play the game. Well, I do have fun playing this game. I wondered to myself if this is a game that I will choose to play instead of other games that might offer a similar, more streamlined experience.
I see where you're coming from, but I disagree. I think that this gameplay and this game is fun enough to merit the amount of components that there are. Is it awkward to shuffle like over 100 tiles? It's cumbersome. It takes a little bit. So I think the game merits the amount of components it has, and I think it adds to replayability.
Well, that's the thing. I think, like I said, it's a mileage may vary situation. Like for me, if someone's like, "You want to play Meeple Land or King Domino?" I'm probably gonna yeah. How much time do we have? Because it's probably King Domino. So, shall we wrap it up and give this a score?
Final scores, D. Let's do it.
All right.
You first.
Me first. Yeah, it's not the greatest game I've ever played. Like I said, I'm not sure as far as like a value proposition if this is like the best of its kind, but I do think it's a fun game. It's well made. It's got that blue-orange quality that you kind of can expect at this point. I think it's sort of to establish that. They have, very much their own style. So I'm gonna give it 3.5 out of 5. I like it. I like it. I just don't know if it's essential.
It gave me everything I wanted from it. It actually surprised me. Is it the best tile-laying game I've ever played? No. Does it have maybe one too many components or a few too many components? Sure, I agree. And yes, luck plays into it. But it didn't change the fact that while I was playing, I had sort of like a childish, I'm at an amusement park feeling, And I also am just one of those people who enjoys setting up, or building some sort of park. Or I was the kind of guy in Fallout 4 who spent more time building up a base than actually playing the game.
I might have if the mechanics worked at all, but
this game was up my alley, and I think I'm gonna give it. Yeah, you know what?
We're waiting. Bated breath, Will.
I think I'm gonna give it an A-.
All right. I kind of thought you would.
I think B plus A minus is. I think I'm gonna go with the more positive rating.
Yeah, that's
just because I just had so much fun playing it, and I would gladly play it again. And I don't usually like necessarily puzzle games.
You love puzzle games.
This one,
the ones
because of its theme and then everything else you have to think about. I'm not even particularly good at it, but I enjoy it.
All right, so that is our review of Meeple Land. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up on here on YouTube. We always appreciate that. If you have any thoughts for us or comments, leave
down
one
below.
Yep, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet for more videos like this every week. And, of course, our social media is down below too, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if you want to check those out. And hit the notification bell so you know when our videos come out. And come back for our next video. Whenever that drops, will be a gameplay of another kind of economic-themed sort of experience.
Yeah, it's a bit more heavy, though. It's been a while since we've played, I would say, like a proper board game. Like a massive board.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we are a little bit limited here in our backup set with our space.
Which has almost become a primary set, considering we've been here for like 9 months.
It feels like it, but yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Until then.
Hopefully fun. Until then, thank you for watching.
Bye. See you next time.